my life that has been my biggest secret for years. This is a story about a high-stakes job where I risked everything, my faith, my reputation, and my peace, just to save my family. It's about faith, passion, and a silent betrayal that turned me into someone I never thought I could be. There is a massive secret hidden in this story, and you'll have to stick with me until the very end to find out. Let's start. My name is Noor Hassan, 29 years old, born and raised in Dearborn, Michigan, where the call to prayer drifts over Ford pickup trucks and the smell of fresh Manish leaks from every corner. Bakery on Warren Avenue. I wear hijab every day, sometimes a soft jersey wrap in pastel pink, sometimes a crisp black one when I'm feeling the weight of the world. And I still flinch when someone calls me Habibi in the middle of a crowded major, because it feels too personal under fluorescent lights. For 7 months, I lived inside a fortress of glass and white oak in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, the kind of neighborhood where the driveways stretch longer than my old block back home and the mailboxes are custom forged iron that costs more than my dad used Taurus. I was hired to be the live-in nanny for the Carter twins Leela and Leo. 5 years old, identical blonde curls, ocean blue eyes, and the kind of boundless energy that could power a small city through a polar vortex. Their mother, Vanessa Carter, was 36, a VP of product at a cybersecurity unicorn in Detroit. The kind of woman who wore loud ends to Zoom calls and had a standing reservation on Delta One to San Francisco every other week. Their father, Ethan Carter, was 38, former University of Michigan quarterback, now CEO of the same company. The guy whose face still showed up on billboards along I-75 with the tagline, "We protect what matters." The job paid $120,000. Year plus a fully finished basement suite with its own entrance, a kitchenette, and a bathroom bigger than my childhood bedroom. I took it because my mom's dialysis bills were drowning us in red ink, because my little brother, Adam, needed braces and sat prep if he was ever going to escape the cycle, and because I needed to prove to my parents, to my aunts, to the entire mosque WhatsApp group that a hijabi woman could survive in America without a husband, without apology, without compromise. At 29, I was officially late by Dearborn standards. 3 marriage proposals had come and gone in nice boys, good families, all of them asking the same question, but will she take off the hijab after the wedding? I said no every time. I wanted a life, not just a contract. The Carter mansion was the kind of clean that made you whisper. The floors were heated European oak, the countertops Calicut marble, so white it reflected the recessed lighting like a mirror, and the fridge was a smart panel that texted Vanessa when the almond milk was low. On my first day, she handed me a 3-ring binder the size of a phone book, color-coded with tabs, meal plans, gluten-free, dye-free, peanut-free, Montessori activity rotations, screen time limits enforced by Custodio, emergency contacts, swim lesson schedules, organic-only produce list, and a laminated page titled Emotional Regulation Techniques for Ages 4 to 6. I nodded like I'd been born to follow rules printed in Helvetica Neue. Ethan was polite but dissed a morning protein shake in a Yeti tumbler. AirPods Pro jammed in his ears. A quick thanks. Noor. Before he disappeared into his home office that looked like the bridge of the Starship Enterprise. 3 ultra-wide monitors, a standing desk made of reclaimed barnwood, and a framed jersey from the 2008 Rose Bowl signed by the entire offensive line. The twins worshipped him. "Daddy's taking us to the cider mill this weekend," Lila would announce, bouncing on her toes. "Daddy said we can get a golden retriever puppy for Christmas." Leah would add, eyes shining. I'd smile, change the subject, and pretend the ache in my chest was just homesickness for my mom's malakia simmering on a Sunday afternoon. The first month passed in a blur of routine. I woke at 5:15 for Fajr. The sky over Bloomfield still bruised purple. The silence so complete I could hear the furnace click on. I'd pray in my basement suite, forehead pressed to a prayer rug, my teta embroidered with olive branches, then pad upstairs in socks to wake the twins. Lila liked to be carried. Leo insisted on walking, but held my hand the whole way. Breakfast was overnight oats with chia seeds and organic blueberries, Vanessa's recipe, printed in the binder. I dropped them at their Montessori preschool in my beat-up 2012 Corolla, the one with the cracked side mirror and the dent from when Adam parallel parked into a fire hydrant. Afternoons were park playdates. Arabic flashcards, I taught them Shams for sun and Kamar for moon. And swim lessons at the YMCA where Leo refused to put his face in the water and Lila tried to race the instructor. Evenings belonged to Ethan and Vanessa's absence. She was usually in San Francisco or New York or London. Her location pinned on the Family Life 360 app like a corporate mood ring. Ethan worked late, came home smelling of cedar and stress, kissed the kids goodnight, and disappeared into his office again. I cooked dinner, sometimes Vanessa's pre-prepped salmon with quinoa, sometimes my own spin on it with sumac and lemon because the twins begged for Nora's magic. Chicken I'd eat alone at the kitchen island, scrolling Instagram, liking photos of cousins my age posting gender reveals and engagement. Shoots 9 in rented barns up north. I told myself I was fine. I was saving lives, my mom's, my brother's, my own. It was late October when the shift happened. The night the first real snow dusted the manicured lawn like powdered sugar. Leo had an ear infection, screaming, fever, spiking. The pediatrician's office closed for the night. I paced the nursery with him in my arms, rocking side to side, humming the nasheed my grandmother used to sing when I had nightmares. Talawa Badru Elena. The door creaked open and appeared in the doorway wearing gray sweatpants and a faded hoodie, hair messy from sleep, eyes soft with worry. "How's the little man?" he asked, voice rough. I started to answer, but he stepped closer, reaching to feel Leo's forehead. His fingers brushed mine warm, calloused from the Peloton in the gym downstairs. A spark shot up my arm like static from a wool sweater. "Sorry," I muttered, stepping back. "Don't be," he said quietly. "You're a miracle with them. They listen to you better than they listen to me." I laughed. Before I could stop myself, too loud in the hush of the house. "Kids know who loves them," I said. He smiled. The kind that crinkles the corners of eyes and shows the dimple in his left cheek. And something inside me cracked open like thin ice on a puddle. After that night, the mansion felt smaller, the air thicker. Ethan started working from home more often. His office door cracked just enough that he could hear Lila's off-key rendition of Let It Go or Julio's dramatic retelling of Paw Patrol rescues. He'd wander into the kitchen while I chopped onions for Faddish, leaning against the counter in athletic shorts and a company hoodie, asking questions that felt too personal for a man who signed my paychecks. "What's it like growing up in Dearborn?" he'd ask, watching me dice tomatoes with the precision my mom taught me. "Do you miss Friday prayers at the mosque?" I told him about my dad's auto shop on Shafi, how he still called every customer Habibi, even when they haggled over a $40 oil change. I told him about my mom's dialysis 3 times a week, how she pretended not to cry when the bills came. I told him why I wore hijab, not just for modesty, but because it was armor in a world that wanted to reduce me to a headline. He listened like my words were the only stock tip that mattered. Like I wasn't just the help. No man had ever looked at me like that. Not the boys at the mosque, not the engineers my aunt tried to set me up with. Not even my own father when I got accepted to Wayne State on a full scholarship. One Thursday in November, Vanessa was in Seattle for a product launch. Ethan came home early, 5:30 p.m., unheard of, carrying a paper bag from Avalon International Breads in Detroit. He set it on the island like contraband. "Figured you're tired of chicken. Nuggets and gluten-free mac and cheese," he said. Inside, still warm sourdough, pistachio cardamom cookies, a slice of honey cake dripping with local wildflower honey. My mouth watered before I could stop it. We ate in silence at first, The twins already asleep upstairs. The house quiet, except for the hum of the Sub-Zero and the occasional creak of old beams settling. Then he asks, "Do you ever get lonely here?" I thought of the nights I scrolled TikTok in my basement cave, watching Hijabi influencers in California do GRWM videos while I folded tiny Patagonia jackets. I thought of the silence after Maghreb, when the mansion felt like a museum and I was the only living exhibit. Sometimes, I admitted, my voice smaller than I meant it to be. He looked at me for a long beat, his hazel eyes catching the pendant light. "I get lonely too," he said. "Even with all this." He gestured vaguely at the 6,000 square feet around us. The Sub-Zero, the wine fridge, the framed Forbes cover in the hallway. I should have left the kitchen right then. I should have said "Assalamu alaikum" and retreated to my basement like a good employee. I didn't. The next morning, a text lit up my phone while I poured almond milk into sippy cups. Unknown number. Morning, Noor. Hope the honey cake was good. I stared at it for a full minute, thumb hovering. I knew I should delete it. I knew I should block the number and pretend it never happened. Instead, I saved him under a single coffee emoji and told myself it was harmless. The messages grew bolder over the next weeks. A photo of the twins asleep on his chest during Friday movie night, captioned, "They only fall asleep. Like this for you," a voice noted. "Sheet and Sishatifin PM. Your laugh is the best part of my day." Don't tell Vanessa I said that. I played it on loop in the dark. Volume low, heart hammering against my ribs so hard. I was sure the twins could hear it through the vents. I knew the rules. I knew Karam. I knew what my mother would say, what the imam would say, what every auntie in the mosque WhatsApp group would say if they ever found out. But the mansion had begun to feel like a snow globe, sealed, sparkling, separate from the real world where consequences lived. Vanessa returned from Seattle with a new Hermes Kelly bag and a tan that didn't come from a Michigan November. She kissed the kids on their heads, thanked me for keeping the house magazine ready, then vanished into back-to-back Zoom calls with engineers in Hyderabad. Ethan and I fell into a new rhythm. Mornings, I braided Lila's hair with matching ribbons while Leo lined up his Matchbox cars by color. Afternoons, Ethan took calls in board shorts because the indoor pool was heated to 82 degrees. Year-round. Evenings, Vanessa gone again, Chicago this time. Then Austin and the kids asleep by 7:30. The two of us on the back deck sharing chai, neither of us drank. One night in December, the first real blizzard hit. The power flickered, then died. The mansion plunged into darkness, the smart fridge beeping in protest. I lit candles in the twins' room, battery-powered ones. Per the binder, then found Ethan in the great room. Silhouette against the fireplace he'd started, with one match and a pile of birch logs. "Scared of the dark?" he teased, voice low. "Only of what I can't see," I said, clutching a flashlight like a weapon. He stepped closer, close enough that I could smell the cedar from his skin and the whiskey he wasn't supposed to drink in front of the nanny. "Then let me be the light," he said. His fingers brushed my cheek, tracing the edge of my hijab, tucking a loose strand behind my ear with the kind of gentleness that made my knees weak. I should have pulled away. I should have recited Ayat al-Kursi under my breath and fled. Instead, I leaned in. The first kiss was soft, almost accidental, his lips brushing the corner of my mouth as wind rattled the floor-to-ceiling windows. The second was deliberate. He tasted like cinnamon and bad decisions, like the honey cake from Avalon and the whiskey he'd poured to warm up. We broke apart, gasping, foreheads touching, breath fogging in the cold. "This is wrong," I whispered, my voice trembling. "I know," he said, but he didn't let go. His hand slid to my waist, pulling me closer until I could feel his heartbeat through his hoodie. We stumbled backward into the sectional, candles flickering, snow piling against the glass like a witness. That night we didn't make it upstairs. We stayed on the rug in front of the fireplace, clothes peeling away like secrets, his mouth mapping every inch of skin I'd kept hidden for 29 years. I'd never been touched like that, reverently, hungrily, like I was both sacred and sinful. When it was over, we lay tangled under a cashmere throw, the fire crackling, his fingers tracing lazy circles on my back. I knew I should feel shame. I knew I should be on my knees, begging forgiveness. Instead, I felt seen for the first time in my life. I felt wanted, not for what I could cook or clean or teach, but for me. We became addicts. The affair lived in the margins, 5 minutes in the mudroom while the twins napped. 10 minutes in the third-floor laundry room that smelled of lavender dryer sheet. 20 minutes in my basement suite after Vanessa's Ambien kicked in. Each time I swore it would be the last. Each time I lied. Ethan left his wife's bed to find mine, slipping down the back stairs in socks so the motion sensors wouldn't trigger. I stopped praying, afraid Allah could see the fingerprints on my soul, afraid the angels on my shoulders had abandoned their posts. Vanessa noticed nothing. She upped my holiday bonus to $10,000. Asked if I'd consider staying through kindergarten. Told me I was practically family. Guilt sat heavy on my tongue every time she smiled. Every time she asked me to watch the twins so she could squeeze in a quick Peloton class. The twins called me asterisk and mama asterisk now. Lila drew me into every family portrait, stick figure me with a purple hijab holding Ethan's hand while Vanessa stood slightly apart, her stick arms full of briefcases. I framed one and hid it in my underwear drawer like contraband. Ethan bought me gifts, a cashmere scarf, the color of chai tea, AirPods Pro so I could listen to Sarah or a man without disturbing the kids, a delicate gold necklace with a tiny crescent moon pendant. Nor I wore the scarf. The necklace stayed in its velvet box. Some lines even I wouldn't cross in daylight. The affair lasted 5 months. 5 months of stolen hours and whispered apologies in the dark. He talked about leaving Vanessa, bought a condo in downtown Detroit where the kids could have 2 Christmases and I could have a real bedroom with windows that opened. I let myself imagine it. Friday prayers at the Islamic Center of America. Saturday mornings at Eastern Market buying flowers and fresh pita. Lila learning Arabic numbers well. Leo cheered for the Lions with a tiny Hijabi doll in the stands. Then reality intruded like a Michigan winter. In March, Vanessa announced she was pregnant. Weeks. Planned during a romantic weekend in Napa for Ethan's birthday. She showed him the ultrasound photo over breakfast. Her hand on her still flat stomach. Eyes shining with the kind of hope that made my chest cave in. Ethan's face went white. He smiled, kissed her, said all the right things. But I saw the truth in the way his hand shook when he passed me the orange juice. That night, he came to my room, eyes red from crying or not sleeping or both. I can't leave her now, he said, voice breaking. It's not just about us anymore. I nodded, throat burning, tears I refused to let fall, stinging my eyes. I had known this moment would come. I just hoped it wouldn't hurt, like shrapnel embedded in bone. I started applying to new jobs the next day. A Palestinian family in West Bloomfield needed a live-in nanny for their 3 kids. The pay was $60,000 half what I made with the Carters, but the room was shared with their grandmother, and the mom cooked with me every night. It was escape. I told Vanessa I'd been offered a full scholarship for my master's in education at Wayne State, technically, though I hadn't accepted yet. She cried, actually cried. Hugged me so tight I could smell her Chanel perfume. Offered to pay for the degree if I stayed. Your family, Noor, she said. The kids need you. I need you. I almost wavered. Then I pictured the baby growing inside her. The ultrasound photo, now magnetized to the fridge like a warrant. The family I'd helped fracture piece by piece. I left on a Friday morning in April while the twins were at preschool. I packed my Corolla to the roof prayer rug, childhood photos, the framed drawing Lila made of us under a yellow sun. Ethan stood in the driveway in his hoodie, hands in his pockets, watching the Uber pull away. He didn't wave. I didn't either. My new room smelled of baba ganoush and Bengay and the faint rose water the grandmother dabbed behind her ears. I prayed for the first time in months. Forehead pressed to the carpet until it left grid marks on my skin. I mailed the crescent necklace back in a plain white envelope. No, some endings don't need words. The twins. Drawings arrived a week later, crayon versions of the 5 of us under a yellow sun, labeled in Lila's shaky handwriting, Daddy, Mommy, Nor, Lila, Leo holding hands in a crooked line. I cried until my ribs ached, until the grandmother knocked on my door with a plate of Nafa and a quiet callus. Hijabi enough. I still nanny. The new kids are sweet, 2 boys and a girl who call me Tonknor, and fight over who gets to hold my hand in the parking lot. The mom cooks with me every night, teaches me her mother's recipe for musicin. The dad coaches little. Legan asks my opinion on everything. From screen time to weather, the Red Wings will ever win again. My room now smells reliably of baba ganoush and Bengay and the faint rose water the grandmother dabs behind her ears. Here, in this chaos, in this warmth, I found my way back. I started praying again. The first few weeks were silent, full of tears. My forehead pressed to the carpet until it left grid marks on my skin. I stopped looking for Ethan's reflection in the silence. Instead, I let the silence become the presence of Allah again. My Tetz's prayer rug, embroidered with olive branches, was no longer a place of interrogation but of refuge. I learned that faith isn't about never falling. It's about knowing you will always be caught when you stand up to pray again. I wore my hijab pinned tight, but now it feels like armor forged with acceptance, not fear. My heart, once stitched closed with pain, began to mend with dew and discipline. I am trying to remember who I was, a resilient Dearborn girl who worked hard, who loved her family, and whose light was inherent, not borrowed. I still drive past the Carter Mansion sometimes, but no, it's just a house, a huge, cold box on a hill, disconnected from my reality. I saw the Free Press article at the grocery store checkout last month. From gridiron to Silicon Valley. Ethan, Carter's American dream. He sold the company for $1 billion. There was a photo of him. Vanessa beaming, the twins, and a little girl in his arms. They named her Noor. I stared at the photo. My chest didn't cave in. It did something strange. It felt like a final, clean cut. It wasn't Eiley. It was a release. Their choice to use my name, the word for light, meant they were the ones carrying the ghost now, not me. I was free. I realized the secret was no longer a chain binding me to that mansion. The secret was the strength I found in escaping it. I paid off my mom's last dialysis bill that day. I bought Adam the SAT prep courses. I took control of my own light. If you take anything from my story, let it be this. Your light is yours alone. You can make terrible mistakes. You can fall into the shadow. But the name your creator gave you, the purpose, the iman can never be taken away. Love is complicated, messy, and sometimes destructive. But forgiveness is a deliberate choice. And I chose to forgive myself. I am still Noor Hazan. I am still 29. I am still a hijabi woman surviving in America without compromise. And every morning when I wake for Fajr, the sky over West Bloomfield feels clean. The light is real, and the only voice I hear is my own, saying, Alhamdulillah, I am home. A wild ride, huh? But every ending is just a new beginning. We're closing the book on this one, but a brand new story is already waiting. If you enjoyed this kind of deep dive storytelling, be sure to smash the like and subscribe buttons. It helps me know what you want to see more of. And trust me, the next one, it's even crazier. Hit the bell so you don't miss a thing. Thanks again for lending me your ears, and I'll catch you on the flip side.